Hello, friends. I'm back, and today we're talking about how you hide your power from yourself and the ways you might do that and the ways you can stop doing that. So, if this is something that intrigues you, I'm just going to jump right in. So, it's like an invisible game that you're playing with yourself. And it really points to the premise that the only thing standing in your way is you. And every time that you dream bigger, you have a bolder vision that you're reaching for, what you're going to do is meet an as yet unmet part of yourself. The part of you that's been gatekeeping that expansion up until now. I mean, it's pretty easy when you break it down that way. And when you dream a lot bigger and you are essentially formulating an idea of a version of you that, as far as your previous experience, your ego is concerned, doesn't yet exist. It's a phantom. It's an echo. It's not really real. And the mind that thinks it's you will keep going through a loop of thoughts based on prior experience, patterns that are patterns of delay, patterns of doubt, patterns of disappointment. So if that sounds familiar to you and you want to, get some tools to move this energy, move your energy out of a loop, out of a pattern, and maybe start developing some newer patterns, then please stick around, because I'm going to talk about procrastination, why fear arises the moment you reach for something bigger. And we're going to talk about the index of meanings, which is one of my favorite things. And so I'm going to share it with you here today. It's one of the things that I'm going to be sharing also and expanding on in Coherence program. So if you're new to this channel, hello. I'm a little flushed right now. I just got back from a walk with my doggie. I'm Catherine. I'm a mentor for visionary entrepreneurs and conscious creators, and I created this channel as a place for those of you who recognize themselves, identify as visionary entrepreneurs and conscious creators, to reconnect with your genius, your purpose, your passion, your prosperity, and to embrace the fathomless love of all that you are and how you're here to serve. And we only get to appreciate that. And I mean that in two ways. We get to be grateful and thankful and feel blessed that we have these gifts to serve humanity with. But the more we appreciate, that appreciates, right? It grows, it expands. And every time we reach just past the surface level into a deeper level of self, we get to appreciate more of who we are. In other words, we get to love more of who we are. And every time we love ourselves more, we expand. We change. We have to. And so if you're interested in this content and you jive with my vibe, and I hope that you do, please stick around. This channel is really for you and for people who are like you, who haven't found me yet. So when you like this and you subscribe, that helps my channel. It helps the algorithm to direct more of these videos towards like-minded souls, much like yourself. And let's move on. So you're hiding your power from yourself. That's one of those revelations, one of those realizations that's like, ooh, okay, I don't really like that truth, but I'm willing to investigate how that might be so. And so just keep an open mind, keep an open heart as we talk about this stuff. So what might be the ways that you're hiding your power from yourself? Well, the index of meanings, which we're going to talk about at the end here, so stick around for that. Watch the whole video, because I'm going to give you a really powerful tool to help you itemize your own index of meanings. In other words, all the different ways you've chosen not to love yourself fully, okay? And that's on you. Sorry, not sorry, but it is. But if it's you that created it, good news is it's you that gets to collapse that. So first off, why do you procrastinate on what you actually want? Like, why do we do that? Sometimes we think it's laziness. It's not laziness. It's self-protection. It's self-protection. And when you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you get closer and closer to what you desire, and you're reaching for something you really want, and it's new to you. You're stepping into the unknown. You're stepping into unfamiliar territory. So your mind perceives it as a threat. Your ego, your reticular activating system, and everything that is a function of, let's just say, the reptilian brain, and even an extension of the nervous system, is designed to scan for risks. You're designed for self-preservation, in other words. So if the mind can't predict an outcome based on previous experience that's either known by you individually or known collectively to be a truth, an experience that's been had before, it will draw back. It can't predict the outcome. And largely our lives are being predicted moment to moment based on responses to previous stimuli, previous experiences, previous situations. We tend to react and respond the same way over and over again because we're in a loop, we're in a pattern. And until we break that pattern, until we consciously sever that cord, and one way to do that is really to recognize that we'll have a feeling when we're presented with something new, and then that feeling will trigger a series of thoughts. It's like automatic, and those thoughts keep us in that loop. But if we can be present enough to sit with the feeling of something new, something unknown, where we can't predict the outcome, where the mind can't predict the outcome, and just give it some space, like just let it hang out before taking any action on it, before dismissing it, before judging it, we don't have to run the risk of procrastination anymore. We can actually just sit with it, give it some space, and be like, okay, I'm going to sit in this space where I recognize I could go into an old familiar thought around this, but I'm not. I'm just going to sit with this raw creative energy of something new. I'm going to let it feel uncontainable. And what contains the feeling? Your thoughts. Because the thoughts want to rush in and like completely shroud this new feeling, and then it stops being anything new to you at all. It's just ushered right out. Like we get rid of it. We find a way to either not act on it, to dismiss it as something dumb, or we're not worthy of it, blah, 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 blah. Because frankly, our nervous system, and let's just call the old operating system of who we are, the patterned version of who we are, we had ideas and beliefs forced on us at an early age, and we thought that's who we were. We thought that's our identity. That's the 1.0 version of self. The 2.0 version of self is the one that boldly and confidently acts on that raw creative energy, inviting us, nudging us to move forward, and actually is that person, that we have that identity. That's the 2.0 version. And until you can really sit with and give space in this kind of bridge in between the 1.0 version of self dismantling and the 2.0 version of self becoming embodied, you're going to see that gap space as a threat. You're going to want to shroud it with thoughts that are familiar, shut it down, get rid of it. You're going to want to procrastinate on it. And what does that look like? It can look like Netflix binges. It can look like over planning, right? Over curating. If you've had trauma in your background, chances are, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts, you're going to be someone that overthinks this thing to death until it's not fun anymore. And you're going to try to over curate. You're going to be hyper vigilant, meaning you're going to try to plan for every detail, every outcome. You can't do that. You're going to try to wait for the perfect moment. There is no such thing. So that's what procrastination looks like. It's not laziness. It's protection. But it's self-protection that is overexpressed. It's overcompensating for where we don't feel safe. And where don't we feel safe? From that unmet version of self that's still thinking, I'm not allowed to have this thing, I'm not worthy of this thing, etc. It's just you avoiding the profound change that comes with owning your greatness, owning all the love that you are, owning your genius. Okay? So why does fear, and in the form of procrastination, that's one form that fear takes, why does fear arise the moment you move toward what you want? The second you reach for something new. Because fear is like the bouncer at the door of your next level. It's not a sign to turn back. You might think it is. The old 1.0 version of you might think it is. It's a signal that you're on the edge of transformation, that you are on the threshold of something new, an up level, a different identity, a different way or framing of reality. of your whole life, of your worldview. And so naturally, your nervous system equates desire with risk. Even when we get really excited and we're anticipating something new, that excitement often gets confused by the nervous system as anxiety. It happens to us all the time. So again, giving this idea space, letting yourself sit with it, letting yourself, in other words, become familiar with what you're reaching for. How do you do that? You hold it in your imagination a little bit longer. You play with outcomes. Don't attach to what this ideal version of you, is actually doing, like all the things that have to happen in order for you to be this identity, but rather, what would it feel like to be this next expression of you, this next higher and better timeline of you? Does it feel like relief? Does it feel like freedom? Does it feel like joy? Does it feel like abundance? Does it feel like ease? Ease is the best vibration because ease is the vibration of seamless manifestation. And so, doesn't that make sense that if you can sit with the feeling that you're precipitating this 2.0 version of self by saying, I'm going to lay the foundation right here of what this next best level of me feels like. Her or his go-to vibration, ease, freedom, joy, relief, etc., okay? If you can sit with that a little bit longer so you become familiar with it, the nervous system gets the message and it stops the process of procrastination in the form of Netflix binges or, just laying around in bed for too long or sitting on the couch and just doom scrolling on your phone. It allows you to let go of the comfort zone a little bit more that's keeping you small, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 ways. And if you want to write them down, they're really, really helpful. Go back to these, and watch this video a few different times because when you hear this stuff, the more you hear it, the more you familiarize your nervous system with it's okay to change. Actually, change is the most normal thing in the world. It's actually it's the trajectory of the entire cosmological order is change and growth. It's unnatural to resist it. So the more you hear this stuff, the more it sinks in, right? So how do you stop hiding your power from yourself? Okay. I'm going to give you 4 ways. The 4th one being the index of meanings, which I love it so much. But here's the first 3. Ready? Number 1, recognize procrastination as actually being a compass. What you're procrastinating on, that's leading you somewhere. Think of it as like your true north. It's showing you an unmet part of self that still needs to be loved, that still doesn't feel safe, that still feels afraid to become something more, okay? And the index of meanings is going to help you sharpen your focus on what that is, okay? So recognize procrastination or this general fear of becoming more. That's your true north. That's your compass. You want to look at that. You want to follow that. You want to see where those breadcrumbs lead because that's leading to something that's just a little bit deeper than surface level. It's actually pulling the strings in your life. It's actually directing your life because whatever is the greatest force within you is what directs your life. And for a lot of people, it's fear. So take a look at that fear. Don't be afraid to look at it. It's you. It's all you. Like it's not some stranger. It's not some monster under the bed like we think it has been. It's actually just a part of you that's crying out for love, for acceptance, for attention. Notice me a little bit, goddammit. That's the part of you. That's a part of you. Love her. Love him. One of those things that I do when I uncover another little bit of depth, another little piece of myself that's gone unnoticed, unloved. That's why we call it shadow, because it exists beyond the light of your love. I put my hands on my heart and I just say, all the love that I have for myself, all the love that I am myself. And then I just breathe. All the love that I have for myself, all the love that I am myself. Try it. Just say it. Just say it a few times. Stop what you're doing and say it throughout the day. It shifts you. Every time you decide and you choose to love yourself just a little bit more, no matter what's going on, and if you can get into the habit of loving yourself regardless of circumstances, regardless of outer conditions, it's like saying, I love myself unconditionally. And that, my friends, is the key to whatever you're trying to manifest. It's not pushing and forcing like we've been told. It's loving yourself, all of yourself, completely, regardless of outer circumstances or conditions. That's why it's called unconditional love. And that's where all the magic happens. That's where synchronicity is your norm. What you call miracles, no. You're just aware of the miraculous nature of existence. But it comes from love and not from any other place, okay? So when you can do that, you're able to do step 2, which is you meet fear with curiosity instead of resistance. This is such a beautiful integration piece. I can't even tell you the magic that happens when you can do this, when you allow yourself this. Fear isn't your enemy. Remember that shadow, it's a part of you. It is you, okay? It can never not be you. It's that shadow, actually, it's really more like a flashlight because it's pointing towards your next breakthrough. The moment fear arises, and it will, trust me, I don't guarantee too many things, but I will guarantee this. Every time you reach for something new, fear shows up like a bouncer at the door. It's natural. It's natural to who we are. We have that built-in self-preservation system. We have the reptilian brain. We have a nervous system. We have an ego that's constantly scanning for risks. It's all built in. Don't try to swat away at it. Don't try to collapse it. Don't try to slay or kill the ego. You can't. That's an exercise in futility. Instead, lean in and ask, what part of me is being asked to evolve? What part of me is crying out for a little more love? What part of me has gone this whole lifetime without being seen fully and just embraced, accepted? If there are parts of you that you don't like, the quickest and easiest way to transformation is to not try to get rid of those things or substitute them, swap them out for something else. It's to accept them. All the love that I have for myself, all the love that I am myself. Number 3, shift from knowing to being. This is a big one because sometimes, and in fact, very recently, someone was calling me out, let's just say. Like, you say things with a lot of certainty, and I'm like, hold on. I usually and almost always have this caveat, and I haven't said it in a while, so I'm going to say it again. You don't have to believe anything that I say. In fact, don't. I don't have any answers. I am just as full of shit as anyone else. I don't know anything. In fact, the more I learn, the less I know. The more I open up to spirituality and the metaphysical and unity principles, the less I know. Because here's the thing, anyone claims to know things, it's like saying they're claiming enlightenment. And that's your first sign to fucking run away and leave skid marks, because you want to get far away from that person because they're probably starting a cult and they're looking for followers. I don't know anything. Instead, what I'm asking you to do, what I always and never ask my clients to do, is to take what resonates and leave the rest. And what resonates, take it and plug it in wherever you are in your life right now and see if it works. If it doesn't, fine. That's okay. You can say I'm full of shit. I was in hospitality for years and years and years. Believe me, I can take it. I have thick skin. If you tell me I'm full of shit, I know that. I'm just as full of shit as anyone else. However, I don't have any ego when I'm sharing this. I don't really have an agenda. Do I think that if you love this, that you would really, really thrive in some of my programs? Yes, I'm not going to lie about that. That's Coherence Program. This stuff, that's Coherence Program. That starts on the 15th of January. It's amazing. It's incredible. It'll change your life in 3 months. But I'm going to leave that there for you, for your own perusal. But just take this stuff and plug it in where you're at. See how it works for you. Or, if it doesn't, that's fine too. But be willing to experiment. Be willing to play. Be willing to break with the tradition of what you think you believe you know. Because those are dictating the limits of what you can experience. Those are creating the limits of your perception. That's your perceptual bias, what you think you believe you know. And if you're willing to break with that tradition, that pattern, you'll actually open yourself up more to more and more enlightenment. But you won't need to call yourself enlightened because there's no destination with that. There's no arrival, right? There's no, laurel mantle that gets laid on your head when you reach this master level. That's a fiction. It doesn't exist. But do these things help? My clients tell me they do. Do these things change your life? Yeah, my clients corroborate that fact for me all the time. So just be willing to try this stuff, okay? So when we shift from knowing to being, it's like saying, I really don't know anything. I really don't know anything. Like I just said, I vulnerably declared that. Spiritual truths, any spiritual truth, any metaphysical premise, it demands embodiment. So you have to embrace it. You have to draw it into yourself. You have to be willing to practice it. And for the intents of practicing it fully, you want to identify with it. And how do you identify with anything? You bring it in. You create thoughts or ideas that kind of validate and confirm that. And that's being. And being is very natural. Being is the most natural thing in the world. So who are you being? And we're going to get into that with step 4. What is your naturalness of being? In other words, the naturalness of your being, and I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it off my notebook here. Your naturalness of being is the expression you are meant to gift to the world. So that's you and your organic, authentic truth, you and your genuineness, you and your naturalness. So who are you being? Because if you can assume that being, let's just say the 2.0 version of self, those attributes, not necessarily what you're doing in the world, because being will always precede doing. Who are you being? Meaning, what does it feel like, this 2.0 version of self, when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, when you're having conversations with people? Maybe when you are doing some of the things in your daily life, like walking your dog, what does that feel like? Practice with that. Be that. And then take that into the things that you are doing right now. In other words, merge that feeling of that 2.0 version of self with the everyday minutia of you being you now. If you believe in great love, the great love you have for yourself, and you'd like to share that with another being, then be that now. Forgive any lingering resentment that you have, from something in your past. That's a fiction. The past is only and ever what you're feeling about it now. Okay? And if you feel resentment about something now, then your past is still your present. Right? So take that ideal feeling of who you are being as your best version of self and be that now. Roll it into your everyday stuff. Walking the dog, doing the dishes, doing your laundry, cutting the grass, cutting your toenails, all the everyday stuff that seems like the details, the minutia. We are often going into a hypnotic trance and going right back into the pattern, the loop thinking of who we've always been. Break with that tradition and bring a different level of being to the things that you are doing now. And that action will be the bridge that brings the new knowledge of who you are being as your desired 2.0 version into reality. Okay? So these are some ways that we hide from ourselves. We hide our own power from ourselves. It's not being hidden or taken away from any outside force. And so here's a way to start indexing our meanings. And every time we create a meaning about something that happened, a past event, a situation, an altercation, whatever it is, it's like we belong to that meaning then. We give ourselves over to that, but it's our meaning. So it's how we hide our power from ourselves through the meaning we gave it, if that makes sense. So I wrote down some of mine so that I could share them with you. But these index of meanings, it's what inhibits your naturalness from expressing into the world. It's the you, all these meanings that you create are ways to fractionate off and parse off the love that you are. And every time you do that, it's like you have to wear another mask. It's like you have to assume another role, play another game, instead of the only game that you're really here to play, which is to find your most wholesome natural expression and gift that to the world. So whenever we create a meaning about something, first of all, it's totally our responsibility, even if certain meanings were forced on us, in the sense that, up until our first 7-8 years of life, we're in basically a hypnotic trance, and we are downloading information from our environment. And that can mean thoughts. Largely, the thoughts that we have that are on a loop are downloaded from the collective. Eckhart Tolle talks about this in great detail. And if you can find some of the videos where him talking about, the thoughts that we download from the collective, it's really, really compelling to think about. And so being a hypnotherapist and studying the subconscious at great length, these are the things that I've had corroborated and validated many, many times in doing client sessions, where I have 3-4 sessions with a client. We go through a healing process. We go through a healing arc. And you notice that a lot of the stuff that gets cleared in the beginning, the ideas and the thoughts that get resolved and released and dissolved, are the things that we inherited. The things that we adopted and then adapted to, took on as our own. But just because we inherited certain thoughts, ideas, and beliefs about the world, about ourselves, it doesn't mean that it's a life sentence. We don't have to take them on forever. If we adapted our lives to them, that was on us. And just as we adapted our lives to corroborate or confirm the belief, we can adopt a new way of being that confirms a new belief, validates a new idea or set of thoughts about ourselves. It's all on us. As I said, you are the only thing that's in the way of your progress. So, index of meanings. I come from a poor family. Okay. That means something to me. That means like, it's harder for me to get ahead, or I'll never be worthy of having a lot of money. It won't be natural to me. All of those meanings, granted, I may have adopted some of them, adapted to them, but they're mine. I take responsibility for those. But just because I have these meanings, does that make them facts? Does that make them truth? No. You could go on YouTube right now, because it's a search engine, and find all kinds of rags to riches stories. It's certainly not a fact that because I come from a poor family, I can't make money. But I used to believe that was because it was a meaning that I gave to why I can't have what I want. I'm a middle child, which means, I have certain psychological disadvantages. Is it a fact? Is it truth? No. And I had some other ones too, like I wasn't breastfed. And the first year and a half, really, of my life, I was kind of bounced around from family to family because my brother, who was a year older than me, I'm an Irish twin. If you don't know what that is, that means I was born within the same calendar year, within the same 12 months, basically, of my brother. So because he was very ill when I was a baby, I didn't get a lot of attention. And I have a story built on a bunch of meanings I created about that, about why I couldn't have what I want, or why I was always doing this, or why I was always procrastinating around that. Are these facts? Do they hold up as universal truths, meaning they're true no matter what? Absolutely not. I bet I could find someone right now who had the same situation. They have a completely different experience, right? Okay. Here's one. I've often been misunderstood, so. And then I would fill in the blanks, like that meaning, like no one ever understands what I'm really trying to say, or, people would ignore me, or that's why that's my excuse for being so invisible. Again, does that represent as truth? Is it a fact? No. That's a meaning I gave. This is a good one. I bet a lot of you have it. I was born in the wrong era. There's a word, if I can find it, I'll put it in the comments. Nostalgia for an era that you never knew, or that you think you should have been born into. There's actually a word for that. And maybe if you guys know it, you can put it in the comments here. But do you guys resonate with that? And I'd love to know in the comments if you do. I was born in the wrong era. So then we're giving meaning to, this is why I can't make it in this one, right? Your index of meanings are like a catalog. It's like taking an inventory of all the ways you're giving excuses to be disappointed in yourself, to be disappointed in life, and to ultimately not love yourself. And every time we find ways to fraction off yet another opportunity to love ourselves, we don't feel whole. Now that's an illusion because we're never not whole. We are infinite eternal creator beings. We are always whole and pure. But we're living in a very powerful and pervasive 3D reality, an illusory experience. It's this very interesting holographic simulation where we're playing with contrast, we're playing with separation, we're playing with fear. These are constructs of this reality realm that we're here to play with. Our souls knew it, our souls agreed to it, and we're like, yeah, I'll come and play, that sounds fun. And then we forgot. We forgot that we're playing with these things. So now it's your opportunity to stop hiding. So when you write down an index of meanings, and it could be as easy as like 2 or 3 things. I would shoot for 5, because those first 5 that will come up will be the things that are just under the surface and might be those things that are really pulling the strings and directing the trajectory of your life in ways that have been unconscious to you up until now. So I'd love to know how this helps you. And if you want to take this deeper, if you want to go deeper with this work together, I have this program called Coherence, and it's a 3-month program. We're going to start on January 15th. And we work through, it's called Coherence. It's got a 3 in the word coherence. And that's really intentional because we go through the big 3 feelings that also keep us from the naturalness of who and what we're here to express in this world. Anger, fear, and sadness. And we have these surrender sessions. They're paradigm shifting sessions where we work through these. And we work through the big 3 areas of life: health, relationships, and money. And these are the things that when we're thinking about how we can step up into a greater expression of self, these are the big 3 things that hold us back in terms of if we don't have a wholesome worldview on these things, we don't have a wholesome connection and relationship with our own health, our own wealth, and our own interpersonal relationship, then we'll find that the outer reflection of reality will just project that. So this is powerful. I've led this program before, but I've enhanced material. And what's also really cool is you get 3 months of Visionary School. So Visionary School is a membership community on the school platform. It's a private membership community. And everything you learn in Visionary School is just going to enhance and amplify everything we do in Coherence program. And I just introduced an extended payment plan. So if this is you, and if you have questions, maybe if you want to reach out to me and ask me, is this program for me? You can, but I'm also going to put all the links down in the comments below this video. So let me know how this works out for you. Let me know with your index of meanings. You don't have to give specific meanings in the comments, but whatever revelations you have around this, I'd love to know. And please like and subscribe if you love this content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.